Let's do the introduction. Okay.
Okay. Hello, Jake.
Hey,
We're
how's it going,
recording now.
Tara?
Good. How you doing?
It's nice to put a face to the voice in the name, you know?
Yes. What we've been friends online for quite a while, right?
Yeah, a couple years, I think. I was just, I'm very extrovert. First of all, let me say I'm Jake Morris, everybody. I live out in Battlefield Township, which is about 45 minutes south of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I'm not from here. I'm from North Carolina originally. A lot of people can say, you don't sound like you're a Yinzer. I'm like, no, I'm not, man. You know, you're from Ohio, right?
I am, and actually not that far from Pittsburgh. I grew up in around. You probably would know the Kent area.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. My
yeah.
wife's uncle lives out there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of my neck of the woods. It's sort of midway between Akron, Cleveland, and Youngstown. And of course, Youngstown really isn't that far from Pittsburgh. So,
No, no,
um,
you're in the area. It's
yeah,
local. That's what I consider local. So
yep, for sure. For sure.
awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
So
why did you move up there?
okay. So here this is a good story to kick it off with. Um, so back in 2002, my senior year of high school, right? So I went to Swansboro High School. Go Pirates! Really good soccer team, which soccer is almost non-existent here in Pittsburgh. It's football, baseball, hockey
Mhm.
that goes up here. Um, so first of all, my dad is a retired Marine. He did 20
Mhm.
years in the Marine Corps, and we were stationed at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. So when he retired, we just kind of lived off base so we can finish out high school there. And so what happened was, of course, I'm a musician. I play in 3 different bands and one secret project I'm working on right now. We'll talk more about that later on. I'm
Mhm.
very busy, like you are, music wise, and with your books and stuff. I'm very much a Pisces. My creativity is just going like this, and I live in that fantasy world a little bit too much.
Mhm.
Um, so I played in this heavy metal band, like a real sludgy type stuff, and it was called Bar Slut, believe it or not, Bar Slut. And the cool thing about playing in Bar Slut was when I was 15, 16, we went to this place called the Northwoods Teen Center in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Local bands, hardcore, metal, all that stuff. And they were one of the bands. And I loved them. I'm like, oh my God, this is cool. And they needed a guitar player. And my buddy, my best friend, Chris Grant, is a bass player. He was like, dude, Jake, learn the album and just kind of practice. So I did. And next thing you know, I'm in the band. Um,
Cool.
we opened up for like Machine Head and like all kind of real big metal acts. We were like the local support. It was a great time. So anyway, um, at this time, the band Slipknot had come out. And of course, me being in my teenager years, I'm just like, oh my God, what is these guys? 9 clowns on a stage. Holy crap, this is awesome. So I had the internet and Yahoo chat room, right? Yahoo chat room. That's how old I am, you know? And it was a Slipknot chat room, and my wife was in there, and she's an identical twin. So her and her twin and my friend and myself, we became friends in this chat room, so to speak. So, time went on about 4 or 5 months, and then I graduated high school and we decided we're going to go on tour, right? So here I am, 17, 18 years old,
That's fantastic.
about to go on tour. We actually played a showcase for a representative of Sharon Osbourne. Like she was trying to find like local talent for the Ozfest and all that kind of stuff. So here I am thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna be opening for Ozzy, all this kind of crazy stuff. Um, here's the tragic part about it. I had a full scholarship to Duke University, full academic ride. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm a brainiac. I'm in love with mathematics and science and all
Oh
that.
my God, that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm an engineer, mathematician for profession. So,
Wow.
if you hear a little cat meowing, that's, his name is
I
Mike.
heard
So,
little
but
squeaker.
I was like, do I want to go to college or do I want to go be a rock star? And
Mm.
to that point, I mean, you know what it's like playing little clubs around. And at that point in time, if you were in a band, you were the shit, man. You were like, holy
Yeah.
crap, that dude plays in a band. So here I am, 17, 18 years old, getting everything thrown at me in the typical Motley Crue lifestyle.
Mhm.
Like, I love this. This is great. I can do this the rest of my life. So, I made some bad decisions like we all do. and decided, okay, no school, we're going to rock on. So we went on tour, and after tour, um, my wife and her sister were about 3 or 4 hours away. So we drove up to meet the girls or whatever, and fell in love, love at first sight type thing. And here I am.
Aww.
I just said, you know, F North Carolina, it's time to get my shit together and go up somewhere. So yeah, in between there, I lived with my grandma for a while, and I would come up on the weekends, like 4 hour drive to see her. So that's kind of how we met, and that's that whole dynamic. But to conclude the story about the scholarship issue, the band issue, played all these crazy shows. The band Seven Dust was coming to town, and they were doing a contest for local openers. Of course, we played it. We didn't win. You know, we were a little bit more on the extreme side, which is okay. Um, then, like a week or so later, our drummer and our singer got into it. I don't know over what. Drummer said, "Fuck you, I'm dipping out." Singer said, "Fuck you, I'm dipping out." So we have two guitar players and a bass player just going like, "Okay, man, you know, you get to the top really quick and you fall down faster." Um, so that's how that ended. Now I have no regrets about that. Some of the best times in my life. I'm still friends with all my old bandmates. But yeah, so that's that whole story. That kind of ties in my background with how I got up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I got up here in 2003. My wife's parents were kind enough to let me stay there until I got on my feet. Um, I didn't go to college right away. That was my intention, but you know, I needed to make money. I needed to kind of like stand on my feet. And I'm glad I did that. I had got all my partying shit out of the way back in high school. So I was like, it's time to get to business here. So I went to school, and I started out, even though, you know, I'm a math guy, basic math, 2 + 2, 3 + 3. Just because I told myself I want to start from the beginning, work my way up sequentially until I get to, you know, whatever finite mathematical course I was able to get to. And you know, it was I don't want to say heartbreaking or crazy, but it was eye opening that I was with other adults in that class who legitimately were having trouble understanding the material. I mean, we're talking basic math.
Right.
For
That would have been
whatever
me.
Yeah.
I am not a math person. So
Yeah. I definitely don't look the part, and people don't really, they would never guess that, but
yeah,
just a unique type person, I guess.
that's awesome though.
Um, so I volunteered my time to help people in the class. You know, just I'm a real patient guy. I love teaching. I tutored in college, and
That's fantastic.
experiences to kind of help these individuals. Worked my way up, and I didn't know what I wanted to do at the time. You know that expression, you don't know what you don't know?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it was. I was just kind of doing the college status quo stuff. Ended up getting a job working for an insurance company. And one of our friends was an insurance agent, and she was like, "Hey, I need someone to make phone calls and do paperwork and stuff." So I was doing that, going to school, tutoring. I was like, okay. And I dealt with a lot of, I would say, semi cold calling people. They would these questionnaires in the mail, and they fill them out and send them back in. And we'd call them. And, you know, I've been motherfucked, all this shit all up and down. Like maybe 1 out of 15 people knew what the hell I was even calling about. And I was like, man, this ain't for me. I need to go back and find what I want to find. So being a math person, I was like, well, what kind of careers am I looking at math wise? Am I going to be a weatherman, a teacher, like what? And then the world of engineering came in my radar. It's like, oh, so engineering is just practical mathematics, it's practical science. I have friends who went down the theory route, super brainiac, super think tank people. But as Piscean as I am, and as often as I'm in that fantasy world, when it comes to numbers, I'm very direct with it. So I was like, you know what? Mathematics is great and all this theory, but like, how do we use it? What do we do with all this stuff? That's where engineering comes into play. So I went to school for computer engineering technology, which is a little bit different than a computer engineer. Hats off to the full computer engineers out there, brilliant people. My job is more or less to say, okay, Mr. Computer Engineer, you've come up with this really awesome algorithm or this new circuit board. Let me take this and solve a problem with it. It's a practical application of all the theory. Yeah. So, yep, went to school, got graduated. I work for US Steel now. I'm one of their engineers.
Right on.
Yeah, so that's pretty much like my background stuff as far as the vanilla stuff goes. Um, but yeah, so that's, I guess we'll start off with that.
So that's really interesting. So Mike is a cartographer. That's his day job.
Oh, wow. I
Yeah.
what he did. Okay.
So he makes maps, and I won't give too much detail just because for his privacy, but he works with engineers. So they'll put in requests for maps for XYZ. And so he works with he works with engineers all day long. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, obviously I know engineers do a huge array of
Yeah, yeah.
things, but yeah, so he works very closely with engineers, and he always talks about very smart, not always social skills.
Yes. And that is that's kind of where I like stick out like a stick in the mud in that regard. I'm very,
Yeah, I think he'd like to work with you, I'm sure.
oh yeah, yeah. I'm super talkative. I try to keep a good positive approach. Um, and people know that. So like I work with some of the smartest people, if not the smartest people I've ever met in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I work with an excellent team. Um, but you know, those guys fit the stereotype status quo of engineer. And there's nothing wrong with that. These
No,
guys.
of course not.
Then you have me, Mr. Throat Tattoo, neck tattooed all over, and I'm with them. But I'm very outgoing too. So some people are
Yeah.
like, who's this dude? Like, what the hell is this guy doing here?
So do you get a lot of people not expecting you to be as smart as you are?
Yeah, that happens. People's perception of other people based on their physical appearances,
Right.
99% of the time aren't good. But yeah, so people, they're like, damn, Jake, I would never guess that you were, I knew you were like into hardcore and metal and music. That's totally, I can see that. But like engineering and math, I said, yeah, man. Like I said, as much right brain as I am with the creativity, the left side's keeping up pretty good. I like to meld them both. I like to be creative with solutions that I come.
Yeah. Well, in a sense, I feel like math is creative. I mean, we use math to create. So, I mean, even with drum programming and things like that, Mike uses algebra all the time to figure out
Oh yeah.
programming. So,
Oh yeah.
you
Oh,
know,
100%. 100%. Yeah. So that's kind of how that all goes. And, with me being as, like I said, as extroverted or whatnot, I'm always the guy that give the plant tours and do presentations.
right on.
So US still has facilities all over the country. I work in the Mon Valley.
Mhm.
And I am one of two site leads we have a resource group called Steel Pride. And what we do, it's a professional organization that works on inclusion for the LGBTQ plus community. And, we go march in the Pittsburgh Pride. Oh, it's so amazing. It's such an eye-opening experience. Yeah, so I do that, which is kind of, the administrations are like, man, we got an engineer guy involved in this. This is really cool, because most people, not that they won't do it, it's just not kind of the thing.
Yeah. If it doesn't affect them, they don't really pay a lot of attention to
Sure,
it.
I have no problem putting on my straight against hate stuff or dad
I
hug
love that.
and going out there and doing it, because you know what? Love is love. You love whoever the hell you want to do. You know what I mean?
Aw.
And the fact that people are against that, I mean, we're not going to go into all that kind of, but I'm talking.
Sure. I
It's,
do.
it's heartbreaking. They're just,
Yeah, it's
they're human beings, man.
I love what you said about the dad hugs too. That always touches me when you see that the parents, out there saying, "If I'm here for you," and I feel like that. I think what a sad thing to have to go through. Hiding. Have a lot of people have to hide that part of themselves, and then to get such a negative response, and what an awful thing to have to go through. And so it's wonderful for people who, like, it doesn't really impact in their daily life. If you're a straight person, you don't really have to think a whole lot about that. So showing
Sure.
that support to people who do live that every single day, and especially like teenagers, I feel like things have gotten much better,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
but it's still, There's a
There's a
lot
lot
of
of work
people that
left.
still kill themselves over this, you know? And what a sad situation.
I as upbeat and extroverted as I am, I, like many people do, I have mental health issues. I suffer with all kind of stuff. I take more medications than a horse would take, but that's beside the fact. But I can understand that depth, that darkness, that hopelessness that some of these individuals feel.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll never forget was the first Pride I went to, the first Pittsburgh Pride was 2019. It was before all this COVID shit. We were marching down, and I was talking to a group of lesbians who were just passing out stuff and just being all happy. And we were man, hey, what's going on? Oh, I love that shirt. What's happening, man? And we got to talking, and they were like, yeah. So I came out to my mom and dad when I was like 17, and they told me to pack my shit and leave. And I have not talked to them. I said, I said, what? She's like, they completely cut me off from everything. They disowned me just because I was attracted to other women.
That's just sickening to me.
It is. And I had like this knot in my stomach just form. And I felt not like, I was like, all right, come here, hug time, because I'm a dad. My son, he's 4, Mr. Finn. He is my most favorite human in the whole universe.
Yeah.
So should he grow up to be, a part of the community, I'm gonna support him 5,000,000%.
Of course.
I would never do that because he happens to love someone that's not as common as,
Right.
Yeah, who cares?
I don't get it. I don't get why people get so bent out of shape about this.
That's what I mean. Like, this is the way I feel when people are like, Jake, are you left wing? Are you right wing? I'm like, no, dude, we're not getting into that. That I want a gay couple to be able to stop by the pot store and go get some guns on their way to the chapel. Yeah. No ifs, ands, and buts. Let them do what the fuck they want to do.
It's really nobody's business what people do in their own homes. If you're not hurting anybody else, why do you care? Like,
yeah.
I've seen like memes and stuff that said, so if you're against gay marriage, then don't get married to a gay person. Like, you don't have to. No one's asking you. So, like, here's none of your business.
Here's the thing that a lot of these, negative people don't understand. Whether you're straight or gay, you get married. Marriage is marriage, man. It's fucking hard. It takes work.
Yeah.
And you know what? They're going to go through the same stuff that we do. So you know what? I know a lot of people in this world who are straight or just whatever. And they have a lot of dark secrets, and they've done a lot of really bad things in their lives too. It's not a get out of jail free card. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, so tying it back in, part of the ERG group for you is still for that. Yeah, that's, it gives me an opportunity to take that love of mathematics and science and tie it into my creativity. And yeah, so that's kind of what I do professionally. I also, there's a program we just started called Project Homework Help. US Steel asked for volunteers to help our employees help students in the Clairton School District with their homework. And they needed some math programming skills. So I volunteered for that. So we meet via Zoom meetings, and we go through their little programs and whatever, and we just kind of help them out.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Well, so I really try and stay well-rounded at work as far as, getting business done, and then being part of the ERG groups and volunteering just to kind of keep a good balance there.
That's awesome. I wish, I just wish more people did things like this, and that more people had access to programs like that. Like, there's so many kids that get kind of left behind, not to use a coin of phrase, but
no, I get it.
No,
they seriously
could use
fall
somebody
through the
like that. Yeah, it's teachers have so much on their shoulders. They can only do so much, and if parents really don't care, then the kids has to speak for himself, and they don't know. So it's I think it's fantastic that your company has that program.
Oh yeah. It again, just like being a part of Steel Pride, it's such an eye-opening experience to see that these kids are really struggling, and they don't have any of the resources to really kind of help them.
Right.
COVID, a lot of the virtual schools, I don't know how it is out there, but here, and it's parents' choice now if you want to, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, same here.
There are advantages to distance learning and virtual,
Mm-hmm.
and there's disadvantages to that.
Totally agree. Yeah.
And I think some of the disadvantages, which it's just a byproduct of dealing with this, is the lack of individual attention or that,
Mm-hmm.
okay, John, stay after class for 15 minutes, come to the desk and we'll work through this problem.
Right.
Like that kind of thing.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what I do. So I guess now comes the fun part, right? Music. That is my life. That's your life as well.
Yes.
I wanted to say it's a huge honor to have just a regular Joe talk to you. I've been a fan of you guys since I discovered you. I found Lycia a little bit later in life, but at least I was old enough and mature enough to really tear the layers down and really appreciate it. So yeah, so it's awesome. So I'm a fan of you, and it's awesome to talk face to face.
Well, I'm just a regular Joe too, so I mean, thank you.
Oh, absolutely,
So
absolutely.
it's because I know that you are a metal person. I assume maybe through typo negative. That's how you found out about Lycia?
So typo negative is probably in my top 3 favorite bands of all time. Um, I discovered them, and that's how you came on my radar. And I know you probably get that a lot, but I wasn't going to go there because I understand that's how. But that's okay. It's a good thing, right?
It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Actually, I got one of their shirts in the mail the other day, the typo negative Christian woman one. I don't know if it was a reprint or not. Probably not. It was pretty expensive, but I don't care because I love the band. But so anyway, 1996, my buddies turned me on to Pantera. They turned me on to Korn. They turned me on to all kind of death metal, and then typo negative. They're like, oh man, this guy's voice is so deep, and it's slow and heavy, and it's like, oh, crazy stuff. So I checked it out, and of course, I fell immediately in love. And they've been one of the few bands. And when I say my favorite band of top 3, I love a lot of bands, but they literally, I listen to them at least, if not every day, every other day, some song and I love every single album of theirs. I think they are a different expression of the band and the message they're trying to convey. Because some people are like, oh, I only like Bloody Kisses or October. I'm like, dude, that's just like taking one bite of the pizza, man. Like, come on. There's so much more to them.
Yeah.
My favorite songs are the ones I've never been on radio, none of that kind of stuff, because I'm just really into it. Same with like Tool. That's another band I've really dissected, like just the whole package. Yeah. So what's one thing that I kick myself in the ass over is one of those moments where like you can go back in time and turn the dial. The last tour that they did, they came to Pittsburgh. It was short before Peter's passing, and I wanted to go. I had plans to go, but something came up and I didn't go. So my only opportunity to have seen them. But yeah, so they're in my number 1 favorite band. I tell everyone is heavy band, Meshuggah, super ultra heavy band, but they have a lot of mathematical aspects to it, like the crazy timing and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But, I love all music. I actually, even though I play metal now, as I'm 37-year-old, I listen to like rap and trap and melodic electronic stuff. It's such a different pace and a different dynamic than just the crazy heavy shit all the time.
Yeah.
There's an artist out there called Darcy, Darci. Probably my favorite artist right now. It's still like I guess the style's called like dark side or whatever, but it's like a little bit of rap, but it's all sung with a very cathartic, mellow, melancholy beat behind it. I'll send you a link, sometime you can check it out.
Yeah.
That I can play banjo. My dad's family's from Virginia in the Shenandoah Valley, the Blue Ridge Mountains, and they've all been playing bluegrass since God knows when, right? And every Tuesday night they have what they call the music. That was everyone in the family would go down to I forget his name, what uncle it was. He had like this garage cover and a big pile of dirt, and they would play, and we would all go down there. My grandma would make cakes and all kind of stuff, and they legit have shine and all that kind of crazy stuff.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, and they're like, dude, you listen to that? I'm like, dude, bluegrass is.
I love bluegrass music.
It's the death metal of country.
it's the best. I don't know enough about it to like be any kind of authority on the topic, but
sure,
I know I like the really old sounding, like, it's just, there's something creepy and witchy about it.
Very much so. And that's another topic that we'll get to here very shortly. You got to think, like, so my family came over in the 1600s. This is on my dad's side, from Scotland. Mm-hmm. And there was a conflict in Scotland called the War of the Jacobites. I can't remember exactly what's going on, but I think it was your typical English for Scottish. You know
right.
How it was, right? Well, he was wounded and captured by the English. And at this point in time, instead of going to jail or getting executed or whatever, they needed people to work in the New World. So he became an indentured servant. And after his 7 years, the king granted him 300 or 30 acres or something, like just a ridiculous amount of land to develop and tend. So that's how he came over here. And I forget if he was a blacksmith or a cobbler. He was skilled labor. So he was very, very valuable.
Yeah.
So I came over here, and that's how my family got started. In the area in the mountains, and yeah, mountain people, really, that's what they
see.
are.
My family's all from West Virginia.
Oh, what part?
So same thing, Buckhannon.
Trying to think of
Upshur County, French Creek.
Is it okay? So we're in reference to Morgantown or like Wheeling, is it?
It's we used to drive through Morgantown to get there, so it's I'm horrible at geography, but
it's probably a couple hours south.
It's a little south from there. It's not too far, but it's
okay.
A little south from there.
Yeah, so you're familiar with the mountains, and
oh, it's beautiful.
They are. Oh, it's absolutely breathtaking. So yeah, so my when my parents didn't end up divorcing, and when all that was happening, I went and stayed with my grandma for a whole summer, and she was like, "You're going to get a job, and we're going to keep you busy, so you're going to go down here, and I bought you some banjo lessons." I was like, "All right."
Cool.
I only wanted to play death metal and shit. And I'm like, all right, here we go. And then I show up and my world gets blown away. They're shredding on this damn thing. I'm like,
banjo's hard.
Shit. Oh my God. I'd say I'm an experienced guitar player, 20 plus years. I'm not, amazing or anything, but I do understand the complexity it takes, the finger dexterity, brain processing. And it blew me away. So I did it for a whole summer. I loved it. I always have a banjo around. I don't play it that often, but I'm actually going to incorporate it into one of my bands I have, Ice Heart, which is it's like gothic metal type stuff, type of negative influence, very type of negative influence. But I also am very into folk music, international folk music. I see folk music as like bluegrass. That's my roots. That's my folk music. Scandinavian folk music, all this stuff. And because the banjo is a part of my family history, I kind of want to inject some of that into the music. I got to write it still. It's tuned to open G, and I got to sit there and figure all that stuff out. But I want to put, even if it's just like for a bridge or a melody, I want to put it in there.
So let me tell you, I did a side project with Timothy Renner from Stone Breath. Okay. He does the Strange Familiars podcast.
Okay.
So you've probably seen me post about him.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So he and I have been friends for decades now. I don't even know. But we did a project together called Black Happy Day that was sort of like an ambient bluegrass, folky, weird project.
Okay, so that sounds awesome.
It's one of my favorite things I've ever done. So if you like folk music and stuff, and that's like, he's a folklorist.
Oh.
And he plays every kind of stringed instrument, but he loves banjo, so he plays a lot of banjo. So you should totally look up Stone Breath, and like his Bandcamp, he's got like a million things. And the Black Happy Day release is also on there, so you can like listen to it or whatever. Yeah, we did, because again, I'm from West Virginia, he's in Pennsylvania, and that was part of both of our kind of heritage. So yeah, so you're telling me all this stuff and I'm just like, it's right up my alley. Like I love all that. I grew up, when I was little, my parents we would go to the bluegrass festival, like they would have bluegrass bands come into town and play town hall. And so we would go there on like Friday nights or whatever and listen to bluegrass and like Southern gospel. And so that's like all the stuff I grew up listening to. And like we didn't listen to rock music. Like I was telling my guest last week, I'm like, I still to this day, I'll hear Led Zeppelin songs like that I've never heard before. Because that's not what I was exposed to as a kid. We didn't listen to the Beatles so I'm like, I don't know anything about rock music from back then, but I can sing me some country western and Southern gospel and all that kind of stuff. So
that's some of the most heartfelt music I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I mean, it's iffy. There's crap in there too.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But I love that. And see, that's what you were saying about as you've gotten older, you've gotten more well-rounded.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
You get to the heart of music and you can tell like a legit artist over the garbage, you know what I mean? And it's the heart of the music that really counts. So, I think that as we get older, most people tend to get more open-minded, they usually. And because when you're young, I have to identify as a goth or a metal person or a rapper or whatever.
Hardcore guy, skater guy. Yeah.
And as you get older, you're like, well, yeah, but I like all this other stuff too that I wouldn't let myself listen to before, So It's kind of interesting.
It's just like I attribute it to reading literature, reading different books.
Right.
With Dr. Seuss, worked your way up to Tolstoy and classic literature.
Right.
It's with like music too. I go back and listen to these albums that I shunned or hated or would never listen to before, and I'm peeling these layers back, like I mentioned earlier, and you're like, wow, okay, I definitely was not mature enough to really understand everything that's going on.
Right.
Tool is an example of one of those bands. When they first came out, I just wanted to hear the heavy songs. I don't want to know 9 minutes. So I want to hear just the quick, heavy stuff.
Yeah.
And as I get older, I go back and listen to it. And every single time, I hear something different. And I'm thinking bands like that, even myself, those subtle injections they put in their music, to me, that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
We have verse, chorus, bridge, whatever. But it's everything that kind of happens around it.
Mm-hmm.
Really is what kind of brings me to it. That's why I like you guys so much, is you guys have all this stuff going around. You got the main thing going on, but there's all kind of elements in there. And you listen to it, you connect to a different one of those elements.
Yeah. And see, I feel like that's kind of where math comes into this, because I feel like in a way, music is very mathematical.
Oh yeah.
And it's creative to me. So like you were saying, like right brain, left brain, but to me, math is kind of both, really.
I never really thought about it like that, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Because even if you think about like quantum physics or alternate dimensions, it's all mathematical, but it's also creative at the same time. So. And like you put together music like an equation. Everything has its timing and its place, and there's math involved in it. So I think I don't know. I think it's really interesting.
I like to use it now. I'm also really into poetry. I really am like
a jack of all trades.
What's that?
A jack of all trades, kind of.
Master
a Renaissance
man.
man.
Right. Yeah, the Renaissance man, really. So I write a lot of poetry. To me, lyrics and poetry are the same thing. It's
sure, of course.
In a different format.
Yeah.
So I like to use the analogy. Everyone's heard the cliche, mathematics is the language of the universe.
Yeah.
What the universe speaks, right? So look at poetry, no matter what language it is, it's a carefully selected amalgamation of words meant to convey a certain message.
Right.
Mathematics is the same way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
and see, I feel the same thing about like religion. Like people try to make you either you believe in science or you believe in religion. To me, they're the exact same thing. Like religion is sort of the poetic version of the science. Like science is this sort of mathematical side of creation,
Mathematics is
whatever.
tangible. It's tangible.
Yes, and like religion is sort of the poetic, like the storyteller, but it's the exact same thing to me. Like I don't see any, like a lot of people think one negates the other or whatever. To me, they're exactly the same thing. One is just the science of it, and this is the ethereal kind of poetry of it. You know what I mean? Like to me, they're the exact same thing. They don't counteract each other.
So here's an interesting fact, mathematical fact. So we can prove using theory and proofs that there are actually 7 dimensions. That's how we have the math for that. There are 7 dimensions, right? We can prove it using all this complex theories. We can only conceptualize truly the third dimension. We live in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck is the fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh one? You know what I mean?
Right.
My theory is, so I'm a very, very, very spiritual person, but I'm not, I'm not Christian. I don't even like labeling myself.
Right.
Nature based. I'm a very appreciative of the gifts that we have on this planet. Put it that way. That's what I like to put that as.
Yeah.
But I also embrace science and technology very much so. And I know some people in a similar type, belief system that, it's kind of like what you said, is either all science or science.
Right.
That's all, whatever. And I like to say, being analytical and creative and introspective, I like to say that science is just, it's taking what's in nature and it's just adding a structured way to analyze what's going on in our world.
Right.
Medicines, everything that we have, as far as we know, comes from this planet. It's coming from the earth. What's a computer's made of plastic, right? What's plastic? Silicon, sand.
Right.
Silicon and sand, minerals of the earth.
Right. Right. I completely agree with you.
So that's how I, view that. So I'm really into herbalism and plants and whatnot. So I guess if I had to label myself, people would say like green witchcraft, but I don't like that word witchcraft. I never did. All that means to me, and some will disagree, is just taking your inner willpower and trying to manipulate what's around you for whatever goal you want to do. When you say, "Hey Tara, I hope you have a really good day today," I hope you do so much. I'm taking those 3 seconds of my energy and my time in this realm and putting it towards you. Hey, I hope you have an awesome day.
Yeah.
That's magic, man. That's what it is.
I agree with you completely. And like, I feel the same thing about prayer. Like, a lot of people don't believe in prayer or whatever, and you don't have to, that's fine.
No.
But it's the same kind of thing. Like you're focusing intention, I guess, towards something. And so it's the same thing with meditation. Anything like that. It is magic, So I think people get caught up in having to label things.
Yes.
And like and having to define everything when you can just be. Like you don't have to have an answer for everything. You don't have to have a how-to, a why, whatever. I think people get so caught up in the details of things, they often miss the point of it, following the set of rules that if they just allowed themselves to exist, they would probably be following these rules anyway. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. And what you said, I really like what you said about, you don't have to have an answer. You just be.
Right.
That's all we really have control over is ourselves. The hand that we're dealt is, hey, we're given life on this earth. What do you do with it?
Right. Agreed.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not a fan of labels because people, of course I have, I got the element tattooed on my hands, and I got, this is a tattoo of Gaia, which is getting finished. Like I have, and put it this way, the way I see like the deities and the energies, yeah, there's definitely I call it like the fifth element to it, but it's a manifestation or personification of what's in here and what's in here. That's how I see that. Now, again, back to the dimension things, that fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh could be the spirit world. It could be, who knows, time travel,
Right.
who knows? But the personification of what's in our mind, you attribute it to this character, this figure. So it makes it easier to refer to connect with. But again, there's still that little element of stuff that science cannot explain.
Right.
Our souls understand.
Right.
And not everyone can convey that understanding, you know.
Yeah, I think too, a lot of times, like, people are so hung up on needing everything defined. And it's not just about religion or anything. It's about, what kind of music do you like? I mean, everything has to be defined. What genre do you fall into? What club do you belong with? You know? And it's like, people get so hung up on all of that that they just don't allow themselves to be and exist. Like, I don't know how aware you are of like the whole goth scene or whatever, but there's all this, people are constantly like nitpicking it. What's the scene? What is it? Which bands fit in the scene? How do you have to dress? How do you have to act? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, how about you just like what you like and not care? Like, you know?
I'm not as, I don't know about the goth scene, you
Right.
know, but
I'm sure it happens with the metal scene too.
oh my God. But as far, I have friends who, and they're like, man, everyone is so like analytical and critical, and like you have to have this eclectic subgenre and you can only dress a certain way here. I'm like, wow, man. And same thing with metal.
Exhausting.
Yeah, the metal world, you know, you have the metal world, then you have the hardcore world. Now in 2021, they're kind of like this, but 10 years.
I love that.
Yeah, they weren't. For a good while, there was no mixed genre shows. It was either straight death metal or straight hardcore. And I'm like, why? Why's it got to be that way, guys?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we had such a hard time on that Typo tour, because Peter was doing that back in the 90s. He wanted to mix different types of bands together, and fans were not having it.
Oh yeah, Carnivore, you know, you got Carnivore, the Beatles, and then, you know, the goth stuff. Like, that's Typo Negative, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they put all that shit in a crock pot and did it right. You know?
Right. Yeah. And even, I mean, just, you know, I think it's really healthy now. I think that people are less hung up on having to like be in a certain box. And I think that's healthy. Like, it's normal to me, you know.
What I think the true catalyst of that bringing together as far as their genre goes, and you lived during the 90s hip hop, 90s rap. I'm in middle school, I'm in high school. What are we listening to? What do we hear on the radio? We hear Tupac, we hear Biggie, we hear Oz, we hear all this stuff as a kid. So we grow up not thinking it's some kind of extreme genre or what the heck is going on. It's a part of our lives.
Right. It's pop music.
Yes. At the same time, I'm listening to all, you know, the death metal and the heavy stuff and the rap. And what's crazy is the guys on the other side of the fence, the rap, man, they love this shit. They don't give a crap what you do. They're like, damn, dude, that shit's crazy, man. How you do that? Come over here. And when we started out and where they're at now is mixed genre. That's my favorite type to go to. I grew up in Erie 4 or 5 years ago. The opening act, a local rapper. And
I love that.
Awesome. It was awesome. So you have a local rap guy, and you got like in the local metal bands and the hardcore bands. And what's crazy is the whole principle of hardcore, the basis of hardcore is that unity together.
Yeah.
The same people in that scene divided it.
Yeah.
You know, so, but it's coming back together, and I'm sure it's like that in any genre. The hardcore world is what I know the most because I've been in it for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like the goth stuff, I'm sure you guys have, you know, that going on. Even the rap guys, I mean, of course you hear about the beefs and stuff. It doesn't matter. Yeah. But 90s, I think, was that catalyst of it's okay to like all these other types. It's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and then you have the new metal phase that come out that everyone shits on all the time that I will defend until my dying day. So if anyone wants to throw hands over some new metal, I'll give you my phone number, man. We'll have a conversation about it. And the reason why I say that is you got to think when it came out, it was like 99, 2000. I'm in 8th, ninth grade. It's the new thing. It's energetic. It's taking all the stuff we listened to in the 90s, mixing it with all the heavy stuff we're listening to in the 2000s. It's fucking awesome and opened up so many doors for me. So that was one, I think that's kind of a stepping stone in music, at least on the heavier side, that, look at Rage Against the Machine. It's okay to like them, but you can't like new metal. Dude, come on. It's, you know what I mean? It's in that same category, blending the hip hop, the rap with the rock and the metal. But yeah, so it's crazy how it's evolved. And I honestly, as tragic and sad that, the pandemic and COVID is, I think it has taught people a lot of very valuable lessons.
For sure.
I think that we've all taken for granted many, many things. And when you spend as much time with yourself now that you have to, you start thinking about this stuff and maybe you're open to new ideas. So I see that a lot. And, shows are starting to come back. There's tours starting to book and all that kind of thing. And hopefully they, for the professional band's sake, they can do that. Cause I know it's very challenging for those, who do this right now. I couldn't imagine it, but yeah. And you know what? I'll be the first person to get tickets to a rap show. Sir Phil Collins and Genesis is coming December 13th. You bet your ass I'm going to be there. I grew up as a kid listening to Genesis through my dad. My dad was, classic rock was his thing. He was a drummer. He was really into Grand Funk Railroad, Led Zeppelin, all Boston, all like the classics. And Genesis, he's a drummer. He was a drummer in high school. And he's like, you got to listen to the drums here, man. And I was like, all right, what am I listening to? Again, I'm like 8 or 9. Now at 37, I listen to that shit. I'm like, holy crap, there's so much going on.
Right.
But yeah, so it's, I think it's more accepted to embrace your diversity and your eclectic tastes. And
it's weirder not to.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Like you listen to punk, fuck you. No, yeah, right, man. Now it's like you listen to punk. Oh yeah. What's your favorite band? I listen to this hip hop band or this emo band. Check them out. Okay, cool. Tell you this though, one thing I miss so much, and I think you might too, is physical media. Handing out. I mean, granted, the digital and the virtual world, it makes things a lot easier. I use it a lot, Spotify, whatever, because you can just plug it in your phone and go. But at the same time, being the creative guy and growing up in the music scene, I like to have that artwork. I like to read the lyrics, the pictures of the band playing live, because those are my idols, man. I didn't want to be a superhero. I didn't want to be Spider-Man. I didn't want to be the Hulk. I wanted to be Dimebag Darrell. You know what I mean? I wanted to be Kenny and fucking Typo, dude. Like I wanted to be all this stuff, those are my heroes. And seeing the artwork and the lyrics and all that, it was it was very inspirational to me. And I think we've lost that. Now, granted, it's starting to come back again, especially with
for sure. It really is.
All that. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're big in the hardcore scene. I don't know if they are, in the goth world now.
They're sort of like a niche kind of thing. I think there's people that love to collect that stuff, but I don't know that it's like a viable, I don't know that people sit around listening to cassettes, but I think that they want them because they're sort of like a collector's thing,
Sure.
But maybe they do. I don't know.
It's putting a tangible element to music.
Yeah.
Music's an auditory experience. You can't, well, if people eat enough mushrooms, you can think you can grab music and hold on to it and all that.
Yeah.
It's not. And that physical media ties in the cerebral response and the physical response into one. Yeah. And I miss it. So on every project that I've done, I always try to have some kind of physical release just for that same, that somebody out there, even if it's just a burn disc, somebody out there has that and they appreciate just that little $1 CDR that you have that has your stuff on it and they pop it in and jam it, or an actual CD with pictures of yourself and artwork and your thank you. I love writing thank yous and I love it. I should just say I thank every motherfucker in the whole world who ever inspired me, but it's that's so ambiguous. But yeah, so it's starting to come back now. I don't own a vinyl player, but that's on maybe my next bonus at work or something. I'll pick one up. So I want a good one. I don't want some little Joe Schmo one. I want a good a good setup. So
yeah, it's funny because we had this really horrible record player. It was like dirt cheap we bought because we had an album that came out and we didn't have any way of listening to it. So we bought this shitty record player, and we're like, I don't know why people like listening to records. They're so noisy, blah, 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 blah. And then we went to our friend Soft Kill. They were in town, and we went to see them.
Love that band.
They're fantastic. Yeah. So they gave Dirk a bunch of records.
Oh, that's cool.
And so the next day we were going to listen to them, and our record player broke. So we bought a new record player, and we actually spent some money on it and got like a good record player. Sure. And then we were like, okay, I get it now. Like, it's so fun to sit there and put the record on and look at the art. And, you know, like you said, like, I mean, especially being a teenager, and like I was a big Cure fan, just listening to Robert's voice and reading his lyrics, and just, you know, it was this whole experience. And so
that's what it was.
And I feel like vinyl has brought that back for a lot of people. And like the records themselves look so beautiful. You know, they're so like, it's another form of expression that the band can come up with to like make this piece of art, you know, and like they're so beautiful.
Oh yeah.
And it's just such a fun thing to like hold this record, you know. So,
it's you know, having the physical media, it ties in all the different elements of art. You have the music art, you have the lyrics and poetry art, you have the actual art of that all together. Back in middle school, I made like $10 a week, just cutting grass and doing my chores. CDs were like $20 back then. Mm-hmm. And my best friends and I, we'd all go to the record store at the same time. The Sound Shop in Jacksonville Mall. I'll never forget it. We'd go there. And you know how we picked out these albums if we didn't read them in Metal Maniacs for some zine?
Right.
The artwork. Oh,
yeah, for sure.
Nick, I'll buy this one. You get that one, and you get that one. And we get it. And I'd say about 9 times out of 10, they were all bangers. Sometimes you get a dud. You know, it had really good work. It just wasn't it. And that's how we got introduced to so many bands. The band Deicide, the album Once Upon a Cross. We're like, holy shit, what is going on here? I'm going to buy it. Today, one of my favorite albums, Cannibal Corpse, all the crazy Type O Negative, making out. Oh my God. Holy crap. I mean, you're a teenager, hormones. You're like, holy shit, that's on a CD cover. I want it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm hoping that makes more of a return, especially if like my son, he's only 4. And I at least want to bestow upon him the appreciation of that. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I feel, you know, I think that it has, I think we're all collectors by nature.
Oh yeah.
And so whether you're collecting, you know, whatever, knickknacks, or I seem to be collecting tights lately. I just bought 3 more pair today. But anyway,
hey, you got to get them, man. You got to do what you got to do.
It's ridiculous, though. But you know, I feel like records are just. I think it is coming back for sure. I think for a while, and I had this mentality of like, well, it's nice not to have to carry all these CDs around, and you can just listen to it at the time, like on an iPad or whatever, and not have to carry around like all these CDs and have like a big huge shelf in your house, and it's all just right here on this little thing. But it is true, like you miss that sort of feeling a record and feeling the artwork and flipping through the pages and reading the credits and all that stuff. You know, you miss out on that when you don't have physical product.
Well, it's coming back, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, well, it's good for us.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, which congratulations on your upcoming album.
Yeah, super. First of all, that Ionian record is so effing beautiful. The vinyl itself, like that album legitimately changed my life. I mean, I heard that record and hunted Mike down. So it legitimately changed my life. And so I was the one that I was home when the records got here the other day. And Mike sent me a text message and he's like, did you open them? And I'm like, no, I'm waiting for you. And he's like, no, open them. I opened them, and like just seeing that record and how beautiful it was. Like, I was overwhelmed with emotion. Like, I don't think that I've ever had that response to something that we've released. I mean, of course you're always excited, but just seeing that record, and it was so beautiful. Like, it's so beautiful. It's the prettiest record, both versions of it. And just the feel of it, like the cover is like this beautiful velvety matte. It's so beautiful. And then we listen to it, and I'm just like, it's like you transport back to that moment when I first heard it and how it impacted my life. You know what I mean?
It changed your life. I mean, look what happened.
Completely. I mean, there's another human being alive because of that record.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That record on life.
So it's just so crazy. And like, the whole experience with avant-garde records has been unbelievably fantastic. And like, we're super stoked about the next record coming out that's going to be here in like a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And it's such a cool thing, you know, especially this late in the career. I mean, Mike's been doing music since the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
And, you know, here we are, closer to retirement than being children. So it's kind of like, at this stage, everything is just a bonus, you know?
Sure. You guys are creators. You're never going to stop creating. It's just awesome. You're able to put that energy into your music and your album.
It's super cool. It's so
How did they come on your radar? How did you guys hook up?
So Roberto at Avant-Garde has been writing to Mike for literally years, saying, please let me put that out on vinyl. And Mike was always like, maybe, it's not the time. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, someday. And so like periodically he would send us an email and say, hey. And so this last time he sent Mike a message, and he's like, I know you're probably going to say no, but I'm offering it again. Do you want to do the record? And Mike's like, yes.
He's like, yeah, why not, man?
And like literally 3 weeks later, like the whole thing was like set and ready to go. And they're fantastic. It's been such a dream. Like, I don't want to go into the history and like the politics of the past and whatever, but it's been so nice to work with people who just
like your music.
They're not negative. Like, there's nothing negative about it. There's nothing like, I'm not going to go into it, but they're just super positive people, and like very professional and very like supportive. And so it's really, really nice to have that, especially again, so late in the career, you know. It's like, it's such a nice, and we've had good experiences. We had a really fantastic experience with Circle Social and Handmade Birds and Silver Records and stuff. So we've had good experiences, but it's just such a nice, refreshing, like, we don't even have to do anything. Like,
that's the best part.
They have their art department and like the PR people, and like it's just kind of so easy. Like, there's such great people. So forever indebted and grateful to this whole experience.
I wasn't shocked, but I was like a holy shit moment when I saw the announcement with you guys got, you know, they're putting your album out.
Yeah.
Love that label. You know, doom is one of my favorite genres, and, you know, black metal and everything else in between. And they specialize in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, they're going to be on that label. Man, that's fucking awesome.
I know, it's really strange. Yeah, it's when the whole metal thing started connecting for us, like, because of Peter. I mean, there's no question about it.
Sure.
I remember we lived in Streetsboro, Ohio, and we were in like a gas station or whatever. And you know how back in the day, like, everywhere had like a magazine rack, and they'd have a couple of music magazines. And I remember we were in, and we would always go try to see if we could find a review, because back in the day, magazines had reviews. And I remember we picked up, I want to say it was either Rip or Metal Edge, one of those magazines. And we flipped through, and there was like a review of Lycia in there. And we're like, this is bizarre. Like, it was weird, you know? And then of course we did the typo thing, and like, then we find out like, one of the guys from Ancient was like a Lycia he liked Lycia and like had contacted Project, and so he would like talk to Mike on the phone every so often. So apparently, I guess Lycia is doomy enough to appeal to people also into metal. So it's like, it was really strange at first, but like now it's like, well, it makes sense because it's the same sort of aesthetic and vibe, I guess, you know?
Yeah, the aesthetic, the vibe, the atmosphere, it's all there. You just don't have
Yeah.
blast beats and crazy stuff and mega distorted
Yet.
guitars.
You never
Yeah.
know.
If you go that route, let me know.
There's a heavier song on the new record.
I can't wait. I'm so looking forward to that.
It's fun.
Now, are they gonna? I deleted all my social media apps, not the accounts, but I need a break from that mess, man. I want to live in the real world.
Yeah.
Are they doing pre-order soon? Or are they already out? Or how?
So the new record, are you talking about Ionia or the new one?
No, the new album. The new
one. So I'm not sure. I think in June, towards the beginning of June, that one's gonna be. Yeah. So I'll probably, I assume we're probably gonna start getting posts about it soon, because it's not far away.
Oh yeah, it's not. So, a month, if that.
It's coming up, so time is slipping by so fast.
Hopefully they like do some merch bundles and stuff too. I would totally love to get all that stuff.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
Some shirts.
Well, they're putting it out on vinyl and mini disc.
Mini disc?
Mini disc.
Wow.
Yes. How cool is that?
That's like the ultimate collector right there.
Yeah, super cool. So yeah.
How do you even listen to those? Through a computer?
I don't know. I know one thing. Do not try to listen to it in your car, because I made that mistake. In fact, it was Timothy Renner that I was talking about earlier sent me a mini disc of Stone Breath like years and years ago, and me not knowing any better, put it in the, hold on. Excuse me.
Bless you.
I put it in the CD player in the car and couldn't get it out, and I had to take my car, and it would cost me like $500 or something to. Yeah, it was ridiculous. So don't play it in your car. But I think a regular CD player will work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I remember in the old days, the CD trays would come out, and then you could put CD, but they had like a little thing for the little dip. I have to check it out to get that.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. I can't wait, because gosh, I haven't seen a mini disc since I wrecked my car.
Now, are you guys ever going to play live or tour on this, or is just kind of record and get it out there and do your own thing?
That's forever the question. It's one of those things that we would love to do, but logistically, it's, we both have full-time jobs. We have a 9-year-old.
Yep.
There's health issues involved. There's social anxiety, nerves, all that kind of stuff. So it's one of those things that we talk about and torture ourselves about all the time. So I want to say yes, but I don't know. Like, we're always like, God, we never got to go to Europe when we actually toured. And like, it would be so nice to finally get to go to Europe and like play some shows over there. But I don't know. It's possible.
At least it's not a concrete no. I'll take that.
Yeah, I'm not going to do concrete no's anymore, because again, like we talk about it all the time. Like, wouldn't it be fun to do that? And then we're like, yes, but would it? I don't know. We'll see. It could happen.
Put Dirk to work and have him sell your merch and stuff.
No kidding. No, he could play keyboard. He taught himself how to play. Do you know that Shin Godzilla? Do you know that movie? It's Shin Godzilla. I don't know if that's the official name of the movie.
I've heard of it. I'm not familiar with it though.
But he's obsessed with Godzilla again. So he watched that movie earlier, and he went and taught himself the theme song on the keyboard.
Well, look who his parents are. He has the gift, I'm
just like, we could train him and have him play.
Yeah, there you go.
That'd be cool.
He can make his allowance by touring with mom and dad.
Aww, how cute. So
that's a couple of my bucket list items. And we've, in the different bands I've been in through the years, is to play overseas. But for the same exact reasons that you said, full-time jobs,
Mm-hmm.
logistics. It's difficult to take a whole band, equipment, fly overseas and play
Yeah.
in Europe. But my number one place I want to play in Japan. Japan
Oh.
place to play. Um, I've always loved Japanese culture. I train judo, Japanese martial art.
That's
I just
cool.
I tap into all that and I love it so much. And the Japanese people, they are so into the style that we play. They go bonkers over it. A couple of my bands, they sold out of pressings over there. I mean, granted, they're only like 100 copies for little.
Still though.
I'm like, man, that's really cool. That's 100 people that listen to our stuff that can't even speak our language or are not native English speakers. 15,000 miles across the globe, vibing out to something I wrote in my damn garage. Like
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we one of the bands I was in, we did an interview for a Japanese zine, like a 4-page interview, like
That's awesome.
in like all, writing guy. I typed pages of stuff out, and they published every word of it, and I was just like, man, it's a good feeling. So I want to go over there and present that. One of my best friends of all time, his name is Masa. He's from Osaka, Japan. He lives in Brooklyn now. He started out, he worked as like on Eminem's tour doing something. He was really involved with me. He loves music. So he left Japan to come here to be involved in it. And of
That's
course,
cool.
style too. And I met him. We played a show up in Long Island. And he came up to me, in broken English at the time. He was still learning. He was just like, I was just blown away. I mean, it was incredible. And I'm thinking, wow, man, I'm so happy that you came out. Thanks for coming. Here's a shirt. Like, awesome. And then ever since then, like, we're good friends. He books all of our bands. They love the Pittsburgh style. The Pittsburgh has a very unique style in hardcore. They love that. So we always go up there. Everyone knows who it is. He's just a good guy. My son calls him Uncle Masa.
Aww.
Just a really cool guy. But we also talk about Japanese culture a lot because he's the source,
Right.
So yeah, that's why Japan's my number one. And then
that would be cool.
Yeah. But who knows?
I tell you, South America though too. Like we went to Mexico. We played Mexico City in the '90s, and such a fantastic experience. Like the people are so genuine and supportive, and like, so yeah, we would like to play like Brazil and Colombia and Chile and Mexico again. Just there's so many good people in this world, and it would be nice not to even just go play the show, but to be able to just go and like be with them,
Yeah,
would be awesome.
It's a treasure. It's for a lot of those people. It's like a once in a lifetime thing. They get to see this awesome band from America. They're coming all down here. They're good. I like that. I haven't experienced that in person, but like I mentioned with Japan and Europe, people emailing us and saying, hey man, do you guys have a shirt in this size or whatever? And the Japanese people, they always want, small and mediums, and if they want small and mediums to fit them, or they want like XXX so they can be like the
right
type. And we never have those sizes because no one here buys the shit. And it's either like large or XL or 2X. That's it.
Yeah.
It's a good problem.
You know what? Don't you find also that Americans are so jaded and bored with everything? Like I feel like other cultures appreciate things in a different way. Like in America, it's just like, oh, I'm not going to go see them. They'll be back in 3 months anyways. Or like they come to the show because it's like the thing to do, but they're standing there talking the entire time. It could be anybody on stage. Like they really couldn't care less. But like, I feel like in Mexico, it was so like you were something. Like I'm here to see you. Like, and they're giving you their attention. They're supporting you.
They want to entertain by you.
Well, and I hear Europe is the same way. Like, it's like they're there to listen to your music. It's not there to be cool. They're there to like see these people make this music. And I feel like Americans are just bored and like, Whatever. I mean, I'm generalizing, obviously. Not
No,
everybody's this
yeah.
way. But I mean, in my experience touring around the United States, it was kind of just like you had the people that were there for the show, and then there was the people there that are just like, there's nothing else to do, whatever. Like, whatever. Like, you know what I mean?
They
It's
go to the
different.
show to see who's at the show, not the band.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's our culture in general. Everything is just sort of disposable, and like everybody here, we're so spoiled in this country. Like, I feel like everybody's just so like nonplussed by everything, like, I'm super into this today, and then I'm gonna throw it away and be into something else tomorrow, and then throw that away, and then be into something else, and then throw that away. And it's like, I feel like other places in the world aren't quite as disregarding of things, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, sure. This is kind of cliche to say or whatever, but it's like, hey, if there's not a damn Starbucks on the way to the show or some kind of vegan cafeteria, I ain't going. I'm like, dude, come on, man.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, I feel that's the exact, like, if it's even slightly inconveniencing, you know.
we drive hours to go to shows. There's this big
Yeah.
festival every year before COVID called This Is Hardcore, where all the top bands in the country come and play. That's a 4.5 hour drive. I was there. I want to drive. Like, I would drive 5-6 hours to go see a band I want to see. I will do that.
I do think that metal fans are super passionate about music. I
Oh, we
do.
are. We are.
I definitely like, it's one of the things that's sort of refreshing to us because, you know, and I don't mean to speak negatively about anything. Just
Oh, sure.
our experience was that when we toured in the 90s, it was like people were there to be cool and be part of a scene, and the music was just sort of secondary. Like, they're really there to hang out with their friends and like, look how cool my outfit is,
Background music.
and then we were just distracting because they wanted to like look at themselves in the mirror. I don't know. But I feel like with metal, it's a little bit more definitely appreciative of the music. But I'm
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
also not, I'm not super well versed on all of it either, so I could just be
No, you're right.
making weird
We have
assumptions.
the
I don't
same
know.
kind of dynamic in just about any genre, but we love our metal, and with metal, basically that just means that there's distorted guitar and real heavy drums and bass because there is hundreds of types of it. You know,
Right.
hundreds and hundreds of types of it. And I tell you what, Europe, especially Finland, Sweden, Scandinavia, they get that shit right. I'll tell you what, I heard someone call Finland like the land of metal. And you look up how many guitar players and metal bands come from that country. That's like dark half the year. I'm like, God damn, man. What's in that snow up there? What's in that water, man? Oh shit.
That's fascinating.
Over here. And a lot of American bands, even bigger ones, love going over there and playing because it's just like you said, they're there to see the band. They're there to see the show. They want to headbang and mosh and all of that.
Yeah.
To see Jimbo in his obituary shirt or whoever in his Cannibal Corpse shirt. Like, who cares, man? With us, it's like, oh, I like that album, dude. I remember when that came out. It's
Yeah.
yeah, that's why I want to go to Europe too. But yeah, it's kind of, I hate to say like honor among thieves because there's no like thievery, but it's just kind of like there's a commercial that's out there like when you see a metal dude sees another guy in a store with a metal shirt and you're kind of just like, yeah, man,
Yeah.
kind of a little
Yeah.
brevity type thing.
And that's kind of how it used to be too back in the like late 80s, early 90s when, that was before like alternative was like mainstream. And so if you were one of the weirdos and you were out somewhere and you saw another weirdo, it was kind of like,
Yeah, I got you.
yeah,
Yeah.
kind of the same thing.
So one thing I've always wanted to ask you, what was Peter like? What was Peter like in life and tour to you guys?
He was so good to us. So I guess I'll start from the beginning of
It's
how
a
we
broad
met him.
question. I know. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously I can only speak from my own personal
Sure. No, yeah,
experience, but
sure.
yeah, what happened was he had contacted Project because somehow along the lines he had gotten one of our records or whatever and wanted to talk to Mike. And so Project hooked him up with Mike, and they just had like sort of a casual conversation, and then he wanted us to come do a show with them. And so it was some like metal festival in Toledo, Ohio. And so we were going to do it. And this was the first time we met them. So we show up. And it's funny, we always tell this story because they had like 3 tour buses at the time. And then there was like a whole bunch of other bands there that all had like buses or big vans and stuff. And we pulled up in our little Geo Storm. Right? And so we were going to do the show, and like we were going to go on like right before them. So there's all these metal bands all day, and then it was like us and then Typo Negative, right? And so a bunch of shit happened, and like our sound guy didn't show up, and like they didn't have any, I think they didn't have any stage monitors. Well, we're an electronic band, we have to have stage monitors. So there was like all this, we couldn't do the show. We ended up not being, it was like the first show we ever had to cancel. But we hung out with Peter, and he was like super gracious, just so nice. And so we ended up not being able to play that show. And then a couple months later, he was like, well, do you guys want to come do this Halloween tour? And so we're like, yeah, like, but
damn, that's a dream right there.
It was crazy. So at the time, Dave Gaulis didn't want to play live anymore. So it was just Mike and I played keyboards and he did everything else. So we show up, yeah. So we show up, the first night was in New Haven, Connecticut, I believe. And we show up and like, we don't know what to expect. Like the only shows we had played like was our tours. So we were used to like not being yelled at by people. So it was really shocking, because the crowd to say they didn't like us is being too nice. And Peter was so like, I'm so sorry, like very apologetic about it. We're like, it's just part of it. Like we're paying our dues. It's no big deal, like whatever. But the whole tour, like he was just so super nice to us, very supportive. And of course, the other guys are fantastic. They're all so nice. That first tour, like, I was scared of Josh. I was afraid of him because he's very like stoic. I'm sure you get that. Like, and so, like, we kind of just kept to ourselves and stuff. I mean, the whole time we were kind of like fish out of water anyway, because the whole metal thing and like people hate us and are trying to kill us. And, and so, and Josh is very stoic, and so like I just left him alone and was like scared of him or whatever. But everybody else is like super fantastic. And so that whole tour happened, and it was great. And then it ended, and like every once in a while, Peter would call Mike just to talk. And like they actually were gonna do another project. They were actually gonna do a project together. They were like laying plans to. I know. But he wanted to do a project with Mike. They were vaguely talking about it. And then just we were asked to do another tour. And then that's when Mike got sick. So everything kind of fell apart at that point. And like Mike's mom and Peter's dad died like right at the same time, like ish. So like he was going through his stuff, and like Mike was going through his stuff because he just had been diagnosed with diabetes, and his mother passed away.
Type 2. I got it, man. I know.
He has type 1. So he's late onset type 1, but they thought he was a type 2 because of his age. So he was actually misdiagnosed and nearly died. Like at one point he weighed 112 pounds. Like,
oh my God.
And he's 6'1". So you can imagine what he looked like. But anyway, so we kind of just lost touch, but I always kept in touch with him. Like I always sent him letters and sent him our new releases when they came out and all that kind of stuff. So we kept that sort of connection with him and everything. And every once in a while he'd call. And so fast forward, we moved out here in 2001, and I became friends with Josh on MySpace. And so Josh and I talked a little bit, you know, we communicated a bit on MySpace and stuff. And he asked me if I wanted to do vocals on this song, and I'm like, hell yeah. So I did vocals on the song, and it never got released. That song never got released.
Oh shit.
So yeah, so there's a song out there floating around in his archives that I did vocals for a project, and it's not my place to talk about it, so I'm not going to talk about it. But but we were friends, but like I hadn't talked to Peter in a long time. Like we hadn't talked to Peter in like forever. And then they were working on that album, and he's like, Josh was like, hey, do you want to do vocals on this Typo song? And I'm like, yeah.
You're like, why are you asking, man? Just tell me when to show up.
Of course, right? So I did the vocals. It's funny, people are like, what was it like being in the studio with them? I'm like, I don't know. I was never in the studio with them. I recorded vocals in my bedroom, in the closet, and it's literally AOL Instant Messenger. I sat there and chatted with Josh, sent him the file through Instant Message or through AOL as we chatted, and that was it. But Peter was so nice. Like after I did the vocals and stuff, he called one night and was like, you know, talked to me for like 9 hours or something. I talked to him on the phone. Like he called at like, I want to say like 6 o'clock at night, and didn't get off the phone with him until like the sun was coming up. So, but he was so, always so nice to us. And got to play, I did get to do that song live with them. The tour they did for that record. Again, Josh was like, hey, do you want to come perform this song live with us tonight? I'm like, yes. Scared to death, but yes, because at that point, Lycia hadn't played a show in years. So this was like my first comeback from like, not, you know, doing anything, and it's going to be with Typo Negative.
Well, you're coming back big, man.
Yeah, it was crazy. Well, and I always joke, I'm like, it was nice to be on their stage and not be getting screamed at and like stuff thrown at me. But yeah, he was super nice. And like, we always laugh because like on that tour, the Halloween tour that we did with them, you know, we would show up every night, and Peter would always be like, can I make you a sandwich? Like he was so like, but that's the kind of person he was. He was very gracious and like wanted to take care of us. Can I get you something to drink? Do you want a sandwich? Like everything was very, like he was like, his mama taught him right, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, he was just such a sweet guy. And to us, I mean, again, this is my experience. From what I understand, he's like that with everybody, but he was just very sweet to us. And yeah, it was it's still hard to imagine that he's not here. Like,
I know.
It's been what, 10 years now? It's been a long time.
You know, of course, our heroes and musicians, you know, pass on, but
too early though for him.
His passing and Dimebag Darrell's passing are two that just really, I guess, hit me harder than I thought, because these guys are my fucking heroes. Like they're my Supermen, and they're not here anymore. But
yeah,
that's all. It's sure you get asked that a million times, but I had to. I was just curious. I love hearing those.
Well, at least you didn't ask me what he smelled like, because I've had people ask me what he smelled like before, and I'm like, I don't know, a person. I don't know.
I mean, I'm not, you know, that.
What did he smell like? He smelled like a dude. Man. I don't know. But yeah, he was really good to us and really kind. And I mean, because he talked about us enough, that's a whole huge chunk of the people that follow us are directly as a result of him talking about Lycia. So like I feel like he did more press for us than our record label, you know, at the time.
It sounds like it.
He was really, really a nice guy. I'm super sad that, obviously that he's gone. I'm super sad that him and Mike never got to do that project together. So I can't even fucking imagine how amazing that would have been.
Oh man, it kind of gave me goosebumps when you said that.
Because being a Typo fan and being a Lycia fan,
that's what
because I
I'm
was
saying.
a Lycia fan before I was in the band. I can't even fathom how cool that would have been. And they were actually talking of, like, it wasn't too terribly long before he died that they had another conversation about it. So
it probably would have come out in the woodwork a few years later.
At some point it would have happened. But it's super sad, you know. It's so weird too, like it's like it feels like he's not really gone, because people, I mean, he's still just as present. I feel like, you know, people still talk about him, people still post about him obsessively.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
but it's weird to think like we're never going to see that band again.
Yeah.
You know, they're never going to come through town again. There's never going to be another record. It's just hard to, like, when someone's that big, and he's big in every way, like,
oh, sure,
personality, size, everything. Like, how are you just, you know, like, how are you just gone, you know?
That's one of the sad parts about life. You know,
I remember getting that text message. I was getting ready to go to bed, and I get this text message, and it says, "Is it true?" And I'm like, "What? Is Peter really dead?" And I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about." Like, and then I immediately got back online and, you know, saw, oh my God, he really is dead. It's not a joke this time. He's really gone, you know? Yeah. Awful. So it was funny too, because we didn't really know anything about Typo Negative when he initially contacted us. And then, excuse me, I had remembered that I had actually seen them open for The Exploited and Biohazard in, like, I want to say 1991.
God, that'd
Cleveland.
Be an awesome show.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we didn't know who they were.
Sure.
that was their first tour. I mean, we were there to see The Exploited. Like, I didn't know who Biohazard was either, but because we were Exploited fans, so I was there to watch Exploited. And it's so funny because I can distinctly remember when Typo was playing, saying to my friend, "God, they're all really tall and they have really long hair." Like, that was my takeaway from, and they had matching necklaces. I remember they all had that Typo circle, like, necklace thing or whatever. And that was my takeaway from it, is I distinctly remember turning to my friend and go, "Holy shit, these guys are super tall and, like, all have really long hair and they have matching necklaces." And then that was it. I never thought about it again. And then when we were touring with them, I remember one night, I might have said it to Josh. I might have actually talked to him. And I remember saying, "I saw you guys playing Cleveland," and his answer was, "I'm sorry." That's Josh. Right? He's such a sweetheart though. But it's funny because he's the one I mostly talk to now. But because he would walk around with his hood up, and, like, he just looked like, "Don't fuck, like, just leave me alone." Like,
leave me alone.
Even though I'm sure that's not what he was thinking necessarily, but it was just like, okay, I'll just walk over here. Plus, I'm like 5'2", and they're all like giants, and I'm a girl, and, like, was in this situation where, like, skinheads are, like, spitting on me and, like, throwing bottles at me while I'm on stage, and I'm like, "Ooh." But nevertheless, it was quite an adventure.
I'm sure. And you have all those memories to keep, and you're right. His memories, he lives on.
For sure.
You know, I attribute a lot of those albums got me through a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, so this podcast, what made you want to start doing it? Just talk to people, random people, or
yeah, you know, it's funny because so my friend Timothy has this podcast, the Strange Familiars podcast, and then my friends Candy and Susie do their podcast, Two Women Left Unsupervised. And I was just kind of joking around, like, because they do all this research on their, like, before they do their podcast, they do all this research, and, like, they, you know, they put a lot into it. They edit everything, like, it's all professional. you
It's
know,
a
they've
full
got,
production.
yeah, like they've got good sound equipment, you know, and it's all like, you know, whatever. And I jokingly was like, you know what, I'm just going to do a podcast and like do nothing. I'm not going to edit it. I'm not going to have good equipment. I'm not going to have good lighting. I'm not going to do any research at all. I don't want to know anything about anything. And I want the person to just talk about whatever they want to talk about. I don't care what it is. And I'm not doing any research about what they want to talk about. They're going to have to tell me, and we're just going to have a conversation. And so it kind of started off as like a joke. And then because, I mean, it's still, to me, is a joke, really. I'm not this is ridiculous. I'm just literally just chilling on Zoom. Like, it's not a podcast. But it's been really fun. And I think it's sort of like a weird, because like you said about the whole COVID thing, like we can't go out anywhere. We don't socialize. I've already worked from home for like 9 years. So, but I still had to go into the office like once every quarter. So I would still see human beings, you know, once in a while.
Yeah.
And so it kind of has just been this sort of fun connection to people, and like talking to people that I probably would never really talk to otherwise, even because it's not the same chatting back and forth on comments, you know.
This, you can't see
Yeah.
the body language, the voice
Right.
actions.
Right. And like, you know, you don't get to know people that well. You know, I didn't know that you were an engineer, or, you know, a math genius and like engineer and like all this, and that you did all these amazing things like with pride and
Yeah.
teaching children and all this stuff. Like I never would have known that, you know.
Sure. Yeah. It's not like those aren't some things that I advertise. That's just me being Jake.
Right.
You know, we have a chance to talk about it. You learn, and I've learned a lot about, you know, about yourself too. And I think learning from other human beings, it's a gift, man.
It's just really fun. I think it's I don't know. I'm a voyeur anyways. I'm not in a like sexual way.
No, sure.
But like
you like to sit back and just take it in.
A total people watcher. I could go sit in the middle of an amusement park and just be content to watch everybody all day long. So this is sort of an extension of that in a way. Because I find people super interesting, as aggravating as they can be. It's also super fascinating, you know.
Sure, and it's not common that you know, I got a lot of friends on social media, you know, and there's some people that you just type to and make comments, and that's
right.
Cool, but I think there's a different kind of connection when we're sitting here in real time, even though you're
sure.
in the whole country,
sure.
just having a conversation about whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
And
exactly.
I like that level of it being visceral like that. It's unscripted. It's just like if we're
exactly.
It's like we're hanging out in the damn room, just like
totally.
But you're recording it, so people are just watching us hang out. You know,
and it's funny to me because I'm always like, I don't know who's listening to this. Like, I don't know why. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's just kind of fun, and like people can watch it or not watch it, and it's fine. You know,
I'm sure you've met some really interesting people doing
this. It's been very cool. Like, and some of the people were people that I've been connected to online for like decades, and we never, like my friend Tim, we had talked on the phone once. We did a musical project together and had only talked on the phone once. And so I think I met him in 2004. And so him and my friend Candy, they did the first one of these. And like that was the first time I ever saw them face to face like this. And it was so weird, but it's just like if you were here sitting on the couch and we were having a conversation, or sitting at Denny's or whatever, you know?
Oh yeah.
I think it's fun.
You like coffee?
I love coffee.
Yeah. What about tea? Are you a tea person?
I like tea, but it doesn't do the same thing for like tea for me. Is like I have to have like really black strong tea with cream and sugar in it, and that's
You're speaking my language right now.
Yeah, that's the only way I like it, and I don't know is that a Southern thing? Tea,
no,
cream and sugar.
No, it's English.
Well, that makes sense too.
Yeah, so fuck it, we're talking about tea. I'll give you a little
It's totally fine.
Yeah. So, I grew up in the South, but it doesn't matter where you're at on coffee. My grandfather, when I was 4, he called it cowboy coffee, which was milk and sugar in there because we'd watch old Westerns with it. That's what we did.
Aww.
So I love coffee, probably son of my growth. I'm a shorter guy, which is okay. My grandfather was short. Myself and my grandfather, the only short ones in the family. All the rest are gargantuan giants.
Oh my gosh.
But coffee guy my whole life, caffeine junkie, all that kind of thing. I had bariatric surgery back in September
Wow.
to help with the diabetes. Yeah, yeah. So I'm down to like 65, almost 70 pounds right now.
Fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. I mean, it comes with its own different kind of complications.
Sure.
After that, I was never really crazy about spicy food. After surgery, I can't get enough of it. I'm just like, put it in my face.
Does it hurt your tummy?
No.
Wow.
I can't explain it, but coffee gives me such bad heartburn. So
it's very acidic.
Yes, I've always been a tea tipper, mostly with herbal teas, but I like black tea, and I was looking up different recipes. I wanted to try something different, and English style. I'm like, tea with milk and sugar. I don't know if I'm gonna like that or not, but
good.
I really like those chai lattes, and that's all.
Yes.
So I did. I started making it, and I'm hooked on it. 3-4 cups a day. The darker, the strongest, the best ever.
So, Irish breakfast tea. Excuse me again. Oh my God. Allergies are horrible today. Irish breakfast tea is, to me, the best tasting, and the Scottish one also. Yes. So freaking good. And I think
Scottish.
So good. Maybe it's the hillbilly in us, because my mom would always, like, I guess on cold days, or if I had like a stomach ache or whatever, she would make me a cup of tea with cream and sugar in it. And so that's like the only way I really like it. I do like unsweetened green tea. But
that's good too.
But it can only be, I only like that Pure Leaf brand. That's the only one I've ever drank that I actually like. And their unsweetened black tea is really good too, but in the bottles or whatever, Pure Leaf, I like those a lot. But yeah, hot Irish breakfast tea with cream and sugar, so delicious.
I love it.
I'm still like, it doesn't. That's a whole different vibe for me than coffee. So
sure.
And my coffee is also stupid. Like, I have to have, like, I can't just drink black coffee. And I've gotten so like frou-frou now that I can't even just drink like black coffee with cream and sugar. It has to be like, my drink of choice now is, we have this place called Black Rock, and it's right across the street. It's like a Starbucks, but it's a smaller chain, and their coffee is about 1,000 times better. But wow. They have one of their current flavors is horchata. And so I go and I get a large iced horchata breve. And it's basically iced coffee with horchata flavor and extra cream. That's essentially what it is.
What's horchata?
Oh my God. Horchata is a Mexican drink. It's a Mexican rice with cinnamon. Oh my God.
It's shit, good. That sounds amazing.
It's so good. Yes, horchata is delicious. It's a drink that's made from rice, and maybe it has vanilla in it. But let me tell you what it tastes like. Is me growing up, my grandma made this and my mom made it for breakfast. They would cook white rice with milk and sugar and then sprinkle cinnamon. That's exactly what it tastes like in a drink. So
Mom did same shit.
Yeah. That might be a West Virginia hillbilly thing also, the rice
I don't know.
cream and sugar. But oh my God, this horchata breve is so, like, in fact, I'm like, I wish I should go right now and go get one. It's probably closed, but no, it's not that late. Yeah, it's not that late. But yeah, it's so good. And like, so like, I'm spoiled rotten because this place is right across the street. and their coffee, like they also have Mexican mocha, which is like mocha with cinnamon, and oh my God, their coffee is so freaking good.
Black
And
rock.
but I think it's just a West Coast thing, or not. I don't even think it's a whole West Coast thing. I think it's just a couple states over here. Um, I think it originated in Colorado,
Okay.
maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. All I know is their fucking coffee is delicious.
That's all that matters, man.
Yes. But yeah, I can't just drink like, a cup of coffee with cream and sugar anymore. It has to be fancy. And I do still like Dunkin' Donuts, but their quality of their coffee has drastically decreased.
I love the donuts. I shouldn't eat them, but yeah, the
I
coffee,
know.
can't believe it.
It's not as good as it used to be.
So one thing I love to do random research on just random crap. So I was sitting drinking my tea one day, and I was like, so what are the differences between English breakfast tea, Irish breakfast tea, and Scottish breakfast tea? So I look it up. So, back in the 1800s or whatever, well, even before that, like the 1700s, when British had the colonies and whatnot, they got introduced to tea. Well, a lot of the tea that the Chinese have are Chinese based, or the English have are Chinese based.
Okay.
They England, they had Hong Kong and all that kind of stuff, and they would ship it all back. Well, the Boxer War started, and there was a conflict between China and England, so they didn't have those resources anymore. So, but they still had a massive stockpile of all this tea from China. So that's what the English preferred. English breakfast tea, different kind of blends from China. So they were moving west. Obviously, England had control of India. That was a colony.
Mm-hmm.
Same kind of climate, but different types of tea, like Assam, all kind of other ones. So they went from the transition of the English style. Now you have this stronger type mix, and it would go up from India and go all the way up, and they would stop in Ireland, port in Ireland, and they loved that particular at that point in time when there was ports in Ireland. It was that blend from India and China together. So it's a little bit stronger, but not quite as weak as the English coffee. So the Irish adapted to that one. That's what they preferred, was that particular blend. Time goes on. They have tea farms in like Sri Lanka and all those other kind of countries over there. And they took the Chinese tea, the Indian tea, and the Sri Lankan tea and mix it all together, right? So the ships would go up to Scotland because it's cold, deep water, and that's where they would port. Now, the way they do it, the water in Scotland, or at the time at least, had a high salt content in it. So you had to really steep your tea to get that flavor and kind of counteract that saltiness. So that's why typically Scottish tea, not only does it have all the different blends from different countries, they have to brew it stronger to overcome that saltiness in the water. So that's why, yeah. So you have English, Irish, and Scottish. They all taste the same. It's just minor inflections in strength, but totally random, useless knowledge. But yeah, that's the difference between the tea. Now, anyone watching this, if I fucked up, please let me know. But that's that's my interpretation of Wikipedia. So
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Irish is definitely my favorite, but yeah, that's funny. And what's funny too is when I make it, I always put 2 bags in because I like it really dark.
oh yeah, oh yeah. If it's English, I'll go 3 because I like
Yeah.
Irish 2, Scottish usually 1, maybe 2. My sister went on her honeymoon to Scotland. That was her
Oh,
thing.
cool.
Totally jealous of. And she brought me back some actual Scottish breakfast tea. I never had it before. So it was loose leaf. So I make my tea and I drink it. And it's like a shotgun blast in my face of caffeine. I'm like,
yeah, it's strong.
This is crazier than coffee. And I was hooked ever since. So
yeah,
I enjoy my tea.
It's funny that you do the milk and sugar too, because like not that many people I know do that.
I use Splenda, but
yeah, well, me too. I use
sure,
stevia.
Yeah. It's sugar to me just kind of tastes like a little bit of a funny aftertaste now after having Splenda for over a decade.
Yeah.
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 But So how long do these usually go? I mean, I don't want to like talk your ear off or stop you from getting your black rock or anything.
No, it's just one of those things that when we're like just ready to go, we're just ready to go. So
Okay.
most of them have been sticking around 2 hours.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting close to that mark.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's funny about the tea thing. So I don't know a ton about genealogy for my family, but obviously that both sides of my family are from West Virginia, the same area. And so the Scottish and Irish obviously were in Appalachia. And doing a little bit of digging into my family tree and stuff, I do see that there's like a bunch of English, Irish, and Scottish in my tree. And I guess like my mom's side of the family are Robies, Roby.
Okay.
And at one point, I want to say that I found a town or something in Scotland with that name or something. So I think that, I think that it makes weird sense that, I like Irish and Scottish tea.
It's in our genetics. I mean, it's
DNA programmed.
Yeah, it is. It's almost like, and this may sound weird, but when I watch movies like Braveheart or Far and Away and things like that, it's like I have a subtle calling. Like, man, I kind of relate to
like it feels familiar.
Yes, it's like
Yeah.
maybe not William Wallace, but like
right.
time period. Like I feel at one point in some time in life, or many lives, if you believe in that I was burned at the stake. I've always had a terror of fire. Anything hot. Now, as I've developed spiritually and mentally, I've come to embrace that element. But I feel, I've always had this aversion to it. And I think maybe at some point in time, they tied my ass up to a stake and lit me on fire or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we really don't know. But I find that interesting too, because on Instagram, there's a couple different accounts that I follow where they're like sort of travel, like travel vacation channels for, one is for Switzerland, one is for France, and another one is for Italy. And those are like the three places that I feel really super drawn to that I've found on there. I mean, there's probably a million, probably a Scottish one and whatever. I just haven't found it yet. But so I'm especially overwhelmed by how insanely beautiful Switzerland is, right? And so and I don't talk about, like, it's not like I sit around thinking about Switzerland or talking about Switzerland or whatever. I just happen to see these posts and I'm like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. And I shared, it literally looks like a fairy tale. And I sent this little short video thing to my mom, and not having ever talked about this ever. And she writes me back and she's like, that's so funny. She goes, when I was in school learning about geography, that's the one place I always wanted to visit. She's never expressed anything about wanting to go there ever, never mentioned a single thing about Switzerland, yada, yada, yada. And I just thought that was interesting that both of us were sort of weirdly drawn to the same place. And I'm like, is there something to that in our genetics? Like, was there, who knows? But
it may not be genetic. It may be something part of that element that science hasn't defined yet.
Right. Like some weird, weird. And it's like that with Italy for me too. Like ever since I was a wee tiny little kid, watching those old movies, with the gladiators and all that stuff. Like I always felt weirdly drawn to Italy. I remember telling people when I was little, I should have been born Italian, but I don't have any Italian anywhere in my genetics at all. Not even 1%, like nothing. And
I have zero Japanese and I want to go to Japan.
Right. It's just interesting, like what in our programming draws us to certain things, because I feel like that with like Teotihuacan. I couldn't be farther from, having grown up in a rural little place in Ohio, and then just being completely fascinated by that whole civilization. I took Spanish in school, for 4 years or whatever, and just being completely drawn to like Teotihuacan and the mystery of that whole, like, they don't even know who built it. It's so old, they have no idea where it came from.
Oh my God. I could totally pull a Peter Steele and talk to 8 o'clock in the morning about that kind of stuff, man.
It's fascinating.
It is, but coming back to that spiritual element, my laptop's going to die here in a few minutes.
Oh, okay.
Perfect timing, actually.
Yeah.
One thing I want to talk about that. So, we have our dog was 18. He recently passed away, and we were at my mother-in-law's house talking about different animals, different old dogs that we had. And my son's in there playing and jibbling and jabbling. And he stops and he goes, "Hey, I used to have a dog." And we're like, "Okay, we know that. What was his name?" And he said, "Chica." I was like, "Chica?" And my mother-in-law and my wife just went white. They just froze up. It had been his great-grandmother's dog like 20 years ago.
I have goosebumps all over.
No, seriously, he is connected. I never heard of it. I'm thinking maybe he's just making some funny names because we're always doing that.
Right.
Like, I was like, what's the big deal? They're like, that was grandma's dog, was Chica. So he talks to them. He told me the other night, check this out. Our dog Bo passed away, and my grandmother, who he called Granny, he said, "Daddy, I had a dream last night." I said, "Was it about the gray cat?" Because the gray cat's always like, that's his monster or whatever getting him. He's like, "No, Daddy, Granny was holding Bo." I'm like, okay. My wife, Nikki, I told her that. She went white as a ghost. She said, "I had the same fucking dream." I said, "What? Y'all are blowing my mind over here, man." So those are just like two anecdotes.
I love that.
So.
See, I not every person I know that dies does this happen to, but it's happened enough to where there's definitely something to it. Starting from clear back when I was in about 8th grade, people that I always have at least one dream shortly after they die where we're sitting in a room talking to each other. I can't remember anything that's said, but it's the same sort of formula, and I've had it about enough people and different scenarios to where there's something to it. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to define anything, whatever, but there's something more.
That's a transcendental subject, and we could talk hours on that, but I'm convinced there's something out there that science cannot explain, and being a spiritually connected person, there's an element there. But today, those conversations with my 4-year-old son prove to me, man, there's some shit that we can't fucking fathom yet.
Yeah.
So
I love it. I love it.
Well,
what a perfect thing to end on.
I know, right? Yeah. I have like 2% left here. So again, I can't thank you enough for inviting me onto your show. I hope I didn't bore you or talk your head
Not at all. This has been fantastic.
So really? I would love to do this again sometime next time you have.
Maybe we'll talk about transcendental.
Let's do it. Yeah, it don't have to even be recorded. You get bored and want to chit chat, let me know, man. I love talking. So.
Oh, you're fantastic.
I can't wait for the new Lycia. Oh my God, I'm so excited for that.
I am too. I can't wait either. Yeah. I cannot wait.
So okay, well, you have a wonderful night.
Behave yourself.
I'm gonna go get some tea, and I'll talk to you online.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.